Hello, everyone. I am absolutely delighted to be here with you today and to share our point of view. Salesforce is a publicly traded company, so I'm obligated to start each session with our safe harbor that says, please, if you're inspired by anything that I say today, please make any purchasing decisions by capabilities that are currently available. So now the lawyers are happy. But let me truly start by saying thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share our point of view. We were a startup 20 years ago, and we have quickly grown to become one of the largest software companies on the planet. We announced our earnings yesterday. If you're keeping score, we've given guidance to 16 billion this year. But we've learned a lot of things along the way about how to build a fast-growing, sustainable company. And I'd like to share a particular point of view that I hope would be relevant to everyone in the room, which is the role that learning plays in any organization, regardless of your size, particularly in the times that we live right now. Many people refer to it as the fourth industrial revolution. I also want to pick up on the previous panel. I know Lambros was riffing on the role corporate ventures play. Exciting news that in March of this year, Salesforce has one of the largest corporate venture funds around, and we announced a $50 million Trailblazer fund focused on startups in Australia. So if you want to learn more about that, just see me after. But today, I really want to talk about learning and the future of work. And we certainly live in exciting times. We're accelerating to this world where everything is becoming more connected and more intelligent. The World Economic Forum refers to this as the fourth industrial revolution, as I mentioned earlier. We've gone from the 1700s, where steam revolutionized transportation. And then the second revolution, electricity gave rise to mass production and diverse cities and so forth. The third industrial revolution, computers, mobile phones, cloud computing, gave rise to digitizing everything. And now we are in the middle of the fourth, the age of intelligence, where everything is becoming connected, and we are now all connected. And as a result, consumers, everyone in this room, have expectations that are being driven by brands that did not exist 5 to 10 years ago. And what's fascinating is we're beginning to see some organizations respond and deliver inspired experiences to customers. So what are these experiences? For example, you've got people like Coca-Cola with connected, intelligent vending machines that can let Coca-Cola know when it needs to be replenished, or when, if it's in a multi-SKU environment, if the Coke bottles are in the wrong orientation. Apparently, Coke bottles have to be at the top if you have mixed SKUs. Or Kone have intelligent escalators that vary its speed based on how many people are on it. And it can also let a service agent know when it needs to be repaired, so proactive service. Marriott allows you to check into your room using your mobile phone and then go directly to your room and unlock it using the phone as a key. So now you're seeing new skills being demanded in the workplace to be able to deliver these types of enlightened, intelligent experiences. So at Salesforce, we've been on a journey for the last 20 years, building capabilities to allow customers, like the ones I just talked about, to change the way they connect with their customers. And we have accelerated through cloud, social, mobile, IoT, and now in the age of intelligence. But more importantly, along the way, we've been recognized consistently by Fortune magazine as the best place to work. We've been recognized here in Australia as the best place to work as well, most innovative company. And that's probably what we focus on more, because we have a strong belief that business of business is to change the state of the world, and businesses, large and small, can do well while doing good. So how do we do that? By focusing on core values. And for us, these are our values. Trust is number one. Nothing's more important. And trust today, in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, where you've got these amazing technologies that are still in its infancy, artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D printing, that have the potential to do tremendous good, but can also lead to unintended consequences. Trust is paramount. Customer success. Our model as a service intrinsically relies on our customers to be successful. It's similar to the relationship you have with your iPhone, where if you're like me, you've got a number of applications, and when you sit on an aircraft and you've got nothing else to do, you swipe through and figure out which ones you're going to delete. You're making a value trade-off right there. So that leads on to the third value on innovation. You got to continually think about ways to come up with new and interesting capabilities to ensure customer success. And then the fourth one is something that we try to amplify in today's world, which is equality. And equality to us has multiple dimensions. Equal access to education, equal rights, equal pay, equal opportunity, and care for the environment. Let me spend a second on education, because education is paramount to learning and is paramount to the future of work. And we are very passionate about education and providing opportunities for everyone on the planet to continue to learn. That's why, for example, we created the Circle the Schools program here in Australia, where we have identified 20 schools around the country, and we're working with them to build tailored curriculum to inspire the workforce of tomorrow, the K through 12 students, and to get them excited about STEM so that they can become part of what IDC refers to as the Salesforce economy, which by 2022, right here in Australia, will produce almost 80,000 new jobs and contribute almost 30 billion to the Australian GDP. And what's fascinating is that about a third of those jobs will require new skills, right? So that's where learning becomes important. So when we talk to learners, here's what they tell us. 3 things it boils down to. The first is, and when I talk about learners here, I'm talking about the third wave of learning. So you've gone through your formal learning, whether that's primary, secondary, or tertiary, and now you're into your careers. And the world we live in today requires a certain muscle of continuous learning, the ability to learn and relearn. So when we talk to learners, they tell us this is what we need. We need the ability for customized learning that can be tailored to the needs and the demands that they have throughout their day or their job. 2 is they want resume-worthy credentials so that you can continue to build capabilities that can lead you into new pathways. And then 3rd is to be part of a collective, to be part of a community where you can find support, but you can also enrich and participate in. By the way, I want you to look at the faces of the people on the charts. These are not just marketecture. These are real people with real stories. The guy in the middle, Mark Tossell, just remember his face. I'm going to come back to him in a little bit. Real people, real stories, changing their lives. So we set out on a journey to try to reimagine what learning might be in the 4th Industrial Revolution, and we came up with Trailhead. So what is Trailhead? Trailhead is an online, gamified, self-learning environment. Think of it as a mashup between Spotify and LinkedIn. It's snackable. So when you say, what's snackable? The way you can interact with any of your apps on your mobile phone today, where you can dip in and out and have content as you want it. That's snacking on content. And then you can learn at your own pace. You have the opportunity to connect with a broader community of learners. It's gamified, and you can obtain resume-worthy credentials. So not only can you learn Salesforce skills around the Salesforce technology, but you can learn broader skills on things that are going to be important in the future, around leadership, around wellness, around equality and now have the ability to customize this to the specific needs of the organization. And this has taken on a life of its own. So now we have seen, over the last few years, about 1.4 million learners around the world who has jumped onto Trailhead, learning new capabilities. And what's really exciting is about 200,000 of those learners are right here in this part of the world. And having surveyed this group of people, about 25% of them are pivoting into new jobs. So learning new skills and going down new pathways. So let me give you a quick tour of what Trailhead looks like, and then if you're really inspired and interested, we've got a booth out there. You can go jump in more detail. So it's the concept of trails, modules, and profiles. So trails, what are trails? Trails are guided learning pathways on a variety of topics. They can be technical topics. They can be topics that are important to the organization. So for example, here we've got a topic on wellness. We're a fast-moving organization. Our people are running hard. We want to make sure that they are focused on taking care of themselves and each other. And in that, you have a module that you can go through on interactive topics. And at the end, there's an assessment to ensure that you've grasped the content. And based on successfully doing that, you get a new credential that you can post to your profile, which is a badge. That's part of the gamification. So you have badges and points. You can publish this and share it and celebrate it on your social networks. And this, in a sense, becomes the resume in the fourth industrial revolution. And what we found is organizations that have a culture of learning are fundamentally, their employees are fundamentally more productive. They're incredibly less stressed. But most importantly, they're happier, right? Look at that guy in the middle. He looks pretty happy, doesn't he? Let me tell you his story. Real people. Everyone on this slide, real people. That's Erin Mcgriff. He's based in America. And 2 years ago, he lost his job. And he was bouncing around random jobs. He worked as a janitor, as a sous chef, down on his luck, not feeling great about life. He went to a family barbecue. His cousin said, "Hey, you should check out Trailhead." He's like, "What's Trailhead?" That afternoon, he got on Trailhead, did a couple of trails, and sat the Salesforce administrator exam and failed. So he jumped into the community and said, I don't think this is for me. And the power of the community, they said, persevere, man, this is going to be great. You should stay there. Here, a couple of tips. You should try this trail as well. Not only did he pass the exam the second time, he posted that in the community. The CIO from the University of Michigan reached out to him the next day and said, I think I've got a job that's perfect for you. Last week, he was on the cover of the Wall Street magazine celebrating his story. You can Google it and look at it. That's someone changing their life, learning new skills, blazing a trail, finding a new pathway. The woman next to him is a local story, Rebecca Eihauer from Brisbane. She's with QIC, which is the investment community. 4 years ago, they came to her and said, we need CRM. She said, I can do it. And then she turned around and said, what's CRM? She discovered Trailhead, jumped on it, did a bunch of trails. Now she has over 400 badges. She took responsibility for Salesforce within the organization, got promoted. Now she is leading women in tech in Brisbane, travels around the world talking about that transformation, and is contributing to the network. Trailblazer. But unfortunately, not every company is set up to create a culture of learning. There's a divide between the company's capabilities and the expectations that I've just shared with you of learners of the future. So to give you a little bit of inspiration, let me share with you how we use it. I said we were a startup. Now we're a fast-growing 40,000-person organization that are onboarding people at an incredible rate. So we use Trailhead to make sure that we empower our employees so that they show up every day with their superhero cape on, ready to do what's necessary to charge into the brief. So 40,000 employees. Every year, we're probably going to onboard about 7,000, which means every Monday, when you walk into a Salesforce office, there are a bunch of new faces. And we've got a small but mighty onboarding team. So they had to figure out how to reimagine onboarding so that everybody's productive day one. And more importantly, 90 days later, they're at cruising altitude. That's how you continue growth. For a fast-growing company, 3 things: customers, capacity, capital. And capacity is your people to be productive. So we use Trailhead to onboard our people every Monday. We've built guided trails that says, here are the things that you need to do in order to be productive and successful at Salesforce. The other thing we do is we use it to amplify our values. I talked about our values earlier, and we feel passionate that values have to be embodied by everyone within the organization. It's not just a decal on the wall. So how do you do that? Build trails for everyone to understand, what do we stand for? What do we mean by inclusion? What do we mean by equality? What do we mean by unconscious bias? We also talked about innovation earlier, and innovation to us means pushing 3 major releases every year into the market with thousands of new capabilities. That's a lot of stuff. So how do you make it so that every employee knows that stuff, so that when they interact with customers, they can have an intelligent conversation and ensure that customers are successful? So we've reimagined release notes into trails that employees can do on the tram on the way to work. They can do it in the back of a taxi. They can do it in a coffee shop. They can do it nights and weekends. And we can gamify it and make it fun. And then finally, the tip of the spear for empowering your people are your frontline managers. Right? Got to lead from the front. So we've built trails to help our frontline managers lead in the Salesforce way. How do you look after the careers of your people? How do you align priorities all the way up to the CEOs? How do you build a culture of inclusion? How do you provide appropriate coaching and feedback? So that's how we do it. That's our big idea on what learning might be like in the 4th Industrial Revolution. I hope I've given you a few things to think about. I hope I've given you some nuggets of inspiration. If you want to learn more, please come see us at the booth. If you want to riff on what we're doing in the venture space here in Australia, which is quite a lot, we can also chat about that as well. And we can also talk about how organizations like RMIT have partnered with Salesforce to leverage Trailhead to build a CRM professional course that they're offering, a short sprint course that anyone here can take to learn the skills of the future. And with that, thank you.